of different social work content that I have on my channel that you guys should check out. Some of the videos I do answer some questions or some assumptions that you might have about my job and my tasks, the things that I have to do on a day-to-day basics, my job responsibilities, and things like that. So check out those videos. I'll try to link some of them or create a playlist so that you guys can have access to that and you can kind of binge watch if you want to. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel so that I know that this is the type of content that you guys want to see, that is valuable and useful to you. I want this to be kind of an educational and also a prep video for those of you who are interested in the medical field and wanting to get into hospital social work or be a medical social worker or work in a clinic. I want to be able to provide you with as much information and knowledge, and you can actually see and hear me go through it so that all of the errors and trials that I had to go through, that you can kind of avoid those things and have the best experience possible moving into a new position. So I hope that this stuff is helpful, but like I said, if you like the videos, comment on them. If you like them, like them. And if you like me and my channel, then please subscribe so that gives me information to know that this is actually being useful to someone and that I can continue to do this, because you know, it's not necessarily easy. So just to give you guys a little bit more information about myself, I have a bachelor's degree in social work. I achieved that in 2016, and then I went ahead and got my master's. I finished that in 2019, and I've been a medical social worker since 2019. So I started my practicum. All of my practicums have been centered around substance use. It's not necessarily intentional, but that is just how it all played out. And it's really a good reason, because that's how I got into the medical field now. And so I have a lot of experience in substance use. I had my practicum experience in an outpatient residential treatment facility where they use no medication assisted treatment, and it was just a lot of groups, a lot of counseling, a lot of like social searching and support. And then I ended up moving over to the I guess medical aspect of it by working with a very large organization in my city, and I did my practicum under some LCSWs, and that was the experience that I needed in order to project me into the hospital setting. So I've definitely worked myself up into this position. It just didn't happen. There are some people who have had these experiences where they just get out of grad school with no medical or no hospital experience, and they're able to get a hospital job, and that's great. And I believe that that does happen, but for me, it was definitely like a slow progression over the years to get me to this point. And so I don't want to fool anybody into believing that, you know, I just like graduated and got this job. There was a lot of work, a lot of specialized training and experiences that I had that got me into my specific position, where I have a dual job working in a clinic setting and a hospital setting. And so I have my master's degree. I recently got my license this year, so I'm an MSW, LMSW. I love saying that. I probably will never get sick of saying that, just because I know how hard that I worked for this. And yeah, that's for me pretty much a little background on me. I did work in a Head Start program in my city with another large organization, and I did that for 2 years. And so I have experiences with women and family systems, and then obviously a lot of my experience since I started my career back in college has been centered around substance use as well, which everyone struggles with substance use in some way, shape, or form, or addiction. So it's really a good field to get into if that's something that you're looking into, is that a lot of people want someone who has substance use background or who are interested in substance use, because there's not a lot of people out there who do have that experience, and that is a major problem, especially in the United States. So I would definitely look into taking some courses, some educational hours, and trainings on substance use and family systems, because I think that that's great moving forward, especially if you're wanting to get a job in the social work field. So let's see. I'm not going to go through a typical work day or even go into more depth explaining my job, because there's plenty of videos of me explaining the day-to-day things. So this video is what happens when my moms deliver. What happens at that point? What do I do? What is my interaction with the mom? Then I'll make another video on postpartum and like the steps and the things that I do with my postpartum moms. And so sometimes I do have an idea of when a mom will be having her baby. So every month I compile a list of EDDs. So that's estimated delivery dates. And that is giving us the opportunity to know and to kind of suspect who's going to be delivering this month, who to be on the lookout with, who to follow up with. And so I'm best prepared when speaking with my moms and getting them ready to deliver and making sure that they have everything that they need for themselves and their babies, that there's no questions that they have before going into the labor and delivery room or even at the hospital, and that we're setting them up for success, that they're able to be comfortable when they go into labor. And so if we've gotten the opportunity to work with our moms the entire pregnancy or even a good chunk of their pregnancy, then sometimes I will know when their induction date is or their scheduled cesarean section will be. And so that gives me a lot of room to just plan and prepare some things that I need to do when I go over to the hospital. So when my mom delivers, she goes over to the labor and delivery room. Typically, I don't bother them when they're in active labor, just because that is there's such an intimate time. That is such a personal time and a very cherished time between the mom and her family or her significant other or both. And so I don't want to put stress on her because there's plenty of other people walking in and out of the rooms at all times to prod, poke, and check on her. And so I think that it's important to just give them that space in order to get adjusted, and it also gives room for the medical team to do what they need to do. Sometimes there's an emergency or sometimes there's issues that happen that the medical team needs their attention right away. And so in order for things to work fluidly and for there to be enough time for me to devote to my mom and answer questions that she has as far as the social aspect goes, then I typically try to wait to meet them until after they've delivered. So there are moments and times in situations where I meet with a mom while they're pregnant, and most of the time that's because they've been in the hospital for an extended period of time and they're waiting for labor and delivery to happen. Sometimes our moms are required or asked, not necessarily required because you can't force anyone to do anything, but they are asked to stay until they deliver. And so during that time I will go see them as often as I can, not to overwhelm them, but to just check in to see if there's anything that they need, to see if there's any concerns or issues that they want to express to me that I can express to the medical team on their behalf or advocate for them on their behalf. And we just kind of go over just day-to-day things, how they're feeling, checking on their mood, checking on their support system to make sure that they have support system, to make sure their support system is actually benefiting them and encouraging them during this time, and make sure that they feel safe, that there's no issues that they feel like having if maybe the father of the baby might be abusive or controlling, that everything's kind of in place for that. So I do check when I don't go over to the hospital notes from the nurses, the doctors, the residents, and just to make sure that everything is moving and progressing as smoothly as I can. So sometimes there are issues where a mom just goes in for a vaginal delivery and something might arise. There might be an issue that the doctors have discovered, and so I might call and check on her or go visit her and just walk her through whatever emotions she might be feeling or disappointment or things like that. We do have some moms who miscarry, who have stillborns, and so that is also something that I would do if they're still currently pregnant or about to deliver, and just make sure that they have the support that they need and maybe call a chaplain if necessary. So because I work with moms who do use substances, not all of them do, and they're not going to label all of them. Some of them have previously struggled with substances, actively using, but who still have substance use disorder. A lot of our moms are currently still actively using illicit drugs, and we have to walk them through the children's division process. And so after they deliver, I go and do a consult on the family, just do any updated information. Maybe she has a new address that she didn't share with us. Maybe she's planning on going somewhere postpartum until she can, be a little bit more independent with her child. And so I make sure that I have dad's information, that have her correct number. And so if there is a need for a children's division report, because not all of our moms get a children's division report, I take that time to let them know, hey, the children's division report will be or has been made. This person might be calling you, or children's division will be reaching out to you. They will come to the hospital to lay eyes on the baby and to speak with you, ask you a few questions. I tell them to prepare to have maybe some names of potential people who can take temporary custody, and to also inform dad if he's going to be involved, that he'll need to, give his information and possibly some names from his family that could possibly take temporary custody until court has decided or determined what the status of placement will be. And I kind of walk them through that, ask any questions. At that point, at some point, I will meet with the children's division worker over the phone, because they are kind of sporadic and everywhere in my state. They're very understaffed, and so there's a lot of phone conversations. So they'll call me, just get some basic information about the mom and the baby and possibly the father, and they then come up to meet with the parents or parent at the time, and they lay eyes on the baby, and then they'll give me a call back about what the next steps will be. Sometimes they'll have an idea of if they're going to take custody, or if they're going to try placement with their relative care, or if they're going to just let the baby go home with the parents. So there's a few different scenarios that I didn't mention right now, but if you want me to make a whole separate video about Children's Division and their process with hospitals, then I can do that as well. Just comment down below and let me know. But we talk with the Children's Division worker. At this period, it usually takes several days sometimes to get an answer. Home visits have to be made and completed. Sometimes if the baby's going into relative care, they do background checks on everyone involved. And so they have to do a home visit, they have to do relative care background checks or family background checks. And if everything passes, then the baby will go home with the parent, with the parent's family member. And yeah, then they'll set up a court date. So my job at that point is to be of aid and support to my patient, to kind of explain things, to maybe, bridge a gap of communication or lack of understanding on someone's part, and just to clarify things, because sometimes Children's Division does have a stigma or a bias towards my moms. And so I have to make sure that we're going in with just facts. We're going in with an opportunity of equal fairness and justice, and that, just because, a mom is in my program, or this report was being made because of substance use, parent was using substance use, doesn't mean that she's a bad person or deserves to be treated as such. And so I have to do a good job in making sure that my patients feel heard, feel valued, feel understood, and are given a fair and equal chance. And so that's really the big part of what I do when they deliver, if Children's Vision is involved. And so I want to make sure that my patients are respected and that they're given the best opportunity and fair opportunity to keep or maintain their family unit, and or kind of encourage the Children's Division worker to maybe go with relative care. But ultimately, I don't have a final say. Children's Division does. And so they kind of work through that, but I'm an advocate and an aid to my patient. I try to do a lot of education with Children's Division workers when they make comments, or when they sometimes don't, when they just make comments or have stereotypes or an idea of what something is. I do a lot of explaining of medical or medications and things like that. So that's what I do. Yeah, pretty sure that's it. So if our moms are not getting a Children's Division report and there's no Children's Division involvement, I just go ahead and make sure that they have everything that they need. I make sure that they are still maybe engaged in counseling or therapy, just checking in to make sure, like, when do you expect to start therapy again? Have you thought about, a pediatrician for the baby, because the baby will need a pediatrician in order to be discharged? Do you have the car seat, pack and play, or bassinet? Yeah, just make sure that they're okay. And most of the time they are okay, and they don't really need anything. They just want to be left alone, and they want to leave the hospital, rightly so. And so that's typically what I do. I let them know any updates as far as like discharge planning goes, because sometimes a baby needs to stay a lot longer than maybe their other child, and they don't understand why. And so I try to navigate that with them and explain that to them, and talk with the doctors, and make sure that there's a constant flow of communication and understanding between my patient and the medical team. And yeah, then we start the process of postpartum and making sure that their mood and things are okay. So typically when our moms deliver, social workers get a consult, and you just like basically go through all of the needs, all of the social issues, maybe some barriers, some obstacles. We have to talk about Children's Division, things like that, that I just like then fill out, so that the medical team knows that, hey, the social worker has addressed this issue or these concerns, because the consult has to have a reason by the doctor. And so sometimes it's like substance use. So I write down, like, I've met with the patient throughout her whole pregnancy. It's a fly in here. She received good prenatal care, blah, 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 blah. Or maybe it's patient only, came to 2 prenatal appointments and tested positive for these on this and that date, and that lets the medical team know that, like, okay, she has a social worker assigned, she has someone that she can call, or we can call if we have any questions, comments, or concerns. And then we get discharged, and it's time for the babies to go. Typically the moms get discharged first from the hospital, and then the babies will go home maybe a day or several days after, depending their medical issues or concerns. And yeah, I write a note in the chart, and I inform the parents of the discharge planning, especially if Children's Division is involved and they're planning to petition the courts, or they have taken custody and placing the baby in foster care, or in relative care. So in foster care, we don't share that information with the patients. It's not necessary for them to know at that time. They'll find out in court, but it's not my place to tell where the baby is going, and I don't even know if that's technically legal since Children's Division has custody, but then the foster parents come and I navigate that with them. So I would talk with the foster parents, make sure that they have a doctor's appointment, a pediatrician identified, car seats, and they're already certified by the state to be foster parents. So the home visits and things have already been done and concluded, background checks. So they just come up and discharge, and I make sure that everything is appropriate. Paperwork is submitted and put in the chart for the baby, and all of the medical staff, like the nurse, the charge nurse, the resident, and the doctor, the attending doctor, is aware of everything that's going on as far as discharge planning, and legally we are doing well. So I think that's pretty much it. If I think of anything else, I'll try to make another video. If you guys have any specific questions about anything, let me know. But that's typically what happens when I'm working in the hospital setting. That's typically what happens when my patients deliver. That's kind of like the step that I do. And if in the videos you've seen some of me showing you that I go to the hospital when I meet with the patient, me having to get paperwork or notary signed paperwork with the doctor for like a medical affidavit and things like that. So I hope that you guys enjoyed. I know this is getting kind of long, but I hope that you guys are well. Like I said, it would really help me out to know that these videos are helpful, educational, beneficial for you. So subscribe and comment down below, like the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Happy June. It's my birthday month, BTW, so tell me happy birthday. Bye, guys.